Hi everyone, I'm Mark and this is the African Cichlid Hub. So in last Thursday's update video I asked you guys to comment on some topics you want me to discuss in this Thursday's video, and that'll happen in every Thursday's video. So the top comments were basically all around tank maintenance. I know the top comment with 24 likes also included I should go and film my local fish shops, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do that. So this video is going to be basically straight to the point, me showing you how I do my maintenance on my big tank. I would do it on two big tanks, but then it's just going to be a long drawn out video. Now I know tank maintenance to a lot of people is annoying, it's more of a chore than anything, but it's important to maintain a healthy environment for our fish to live in. Now throughout the video I'm going to be just showing you guys quickly how I do it, each step. I know there's so many different ways about how people do their tank maintenance, so if you know how to do your tank maintenance, that's fine. Maybe you might pick up some tips, maybe you're not, and maybe you could actually leave me some tips at the end of the video. It's completely up to you. So what I normally do before I do my tank maintenance, I make sure I just got all my equipment ready that I'm going to be using. When it comes to tank maintenance for myself, I like to try and keep it simple. There's no point overcomplicating things, because with a big tank it's hard enough as it is, and if you have limited time you don't want to be spending hours and hours and hours each week basically doing the tank maintenance. I do my tank maintenance sort of, the majority of it once a week, and it's normally this time of week. A lot of people will do smaller water changes throughout the week, because of working hours and such, but I've managed to work it in just into one day. Now throughout the week I will sometimes clean the glass, just in case there's a lot of algae growth on the glass and such. Because I have a new light system that's really powerful, I'm finding myself regularly cleaning the glass. But what I've done, and I'll show you in the beginning of the video in the next section, I've left some places on the glass just to show you guys how quick algae grows on the glass, so you can get a rough idea why I need to keep on top of cleaning the glass. So in the beginning of the video, what I'm going to be doing first, I'm just going to make sure all my equipment that I normally turn off is turned off. What I normally do is I turn the wave makers off, I turn the heaters off, and the reason why I turn the wave maker off is when I'm cleaning the glass with all the algae on and I'm siphoning all the waste in and around the rocks, I don't want the wave maker on kicking it more and more around the tank, because it just becomes a pain. The reason why I turn the heaters off when I drop the water level down, if the heaters are on, they're exposed and they're not underneath the water and you fill it up, there's a chance basically of them cracking, and then you're just going to kill all your fish basically. Other than that, I leave my filters on because I like my water still being circulated, and if I turn them off, there's always a chance, how sometimes you become forgetful, and I don't want that happening. So I have a set routine that I do, turning things off, and then when I finish everything I have a set routine of making sure everything's turned back on. So the first section is just going to be me just showing you guys how I clean the glass and then siphon out all the stuff. But hopefully it could be interesting for those that are brand new to the hobby. So we'll get stuck in. I'll start cleaning the glass, do all the cleaning first, and then that's when I empty about 50% of the water. So let's get stuck in. Okay, so I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I normally do like a little routine during the week as well before the major water change, and I clean the glass and just try and siphon out some waste. But because they are constantly grazing on the algae as well, there's a lot of waste that gets produced and it gets trapped in some of the rocks if the wave makers can't release the waste and push it towards the filter's inlets. Now when I do clean the glass, I'm pretty methodical and I'll get as much off, but what I've done, I've left little areas just to show you how much algae grows due to the new light unit, and that's on the glass and down the side there and over down that side, so you can see the colour of it, and also some grows in the back. I've moved the lights back just to show you. So that's all I'm going to be doing now, is getting stuck into the tank and start cleaning all the glass out, getting the waste out, and then that's when I start to drop the water. Now people ask me, what do you use to scrub the glass with? I don't know if you can see it here. This is the O2 SIM card holder, and I use this. It's like a credit card. You can use a credit card, store card, whatever, plastic, but it's got sharp edges, and that is for scraping the inside of the glass where all the algae spots are. And here is just the normal like kitchen scrubber sponge. On one side it's really like coarse, but it's obviously not going to scratch the glass. And then on the other side it's quite soft, and I use that to spot. I run it across the inside of the tank sometimes to find any algae spots, and then I just use like a kitchen towel or a tea towel or whatever, just to help keep my hands and arms dry when I'm not in the tank, and just to wipe off any excess water that drips. I start cleaning the inside. Okay, so when I'm about to clean the glass out, I move the light unit back, I open all the slides and stuff like that, and the first thing I do, I just go round scrubbing the algae off basically. That's the first thing I do. And when it comes to cleaning the bottom of the tank, you know, where the sand touches the front of the glass, just move it with your hand, move the sand or the coral sand or gravel away from the front of the glass. This will prevent you picking up bits of sand, coral sand, whatever, in your sponge or whatever instrument or tool basically you're using to clean the glass. If it gets stuck in the sponge, whatever, and then you're still trying to scrub the algae off, it's going to scratch the glass. So that's a pretty good tip. Move the sand away. You can always move it back once you finish with it. So I'm just going to clean this little section here, and we'll just speed up the video. I'll cut me doing the whole tank because it's just too long. Okay, so and because it's such a high tank, I need to stand up to get my hand in because it's 2 feet high, and then with the helmet it's another half a foot. So here we go, get stuck in. Okay, so that's all the glass cleaned. My sleeves are soaking now. I did try to roll them up, but it's such a deep tank, you know, you get right in there. What I'm going to be doing next is siphoning out all the waste. Got my bucket and just some tubing basically that I'm going to siphon out. Now another good tip as well, if you have tightly packed substrate, you know, fine sand, fine coral sand, it's a good idea to move the sand around as well before, well I should say when you're doing a weekly water change or your tank maintenance. What happens is gases get trapped underneath the substrate bed because it's so compact, and we need to release them, unless it'll start decaying and becoming black and we get black patches and it releases harmful gases into the water. So if you keep on top of it, it shouldn't do any damage to your fish. What I do first, because mine isn't really fine, even though I've got coral sand and sand mixed in, like play sand mixed in together, it is pretty compact, so I do mix it up, release those bubbles and the gases, and you'll see that in a minute. But what I do first, I siphon the waste that's on top of the substrate bed and in amongst the rocks, because what happens is if you mix the sand, you're going to trap that waste in the actual sand bed itself. So next bit, I'm just going to be siphoning out all the waste. You don't really need to see me do that, it's pretty self-explanatory. I just get the little hose in and start siphoning off the water and picking up the waste. So we'll come back once I finish that bit. Okay, so I've just spent probably about half an hour cleaning the glass, siphoning out all the waste and moving all the sand around. And as you can see probably behind me, the tank looks really murky. That's because all the fine sand and that's all being mixed around with the water. Now it's going to start irritating the fish, so I need to move quickly now, take the water out. And the way I take the water out is probably not conventional to the way some of you guys probably do. I know probably a lot of you use pumps to pump out the water. All I use is just a normal garden hose. It's probably around about 2.5 inches in diameter. You're probably wondering what the hell is this net doing on the end. What I do, I put the hose inside of an old net and then just tape it in. This prevents any of the smaller fish getting sucked up into the hose when I'm not looking at the tank, because obviously by myself I can't be watching the tank all the time. I have to be watching where the water is obviously being pumped out as well as other things. So it's quite a straightforward process. I place this side into the tank and then with the other end I just siphon out the water and it drains straight into my kitchen sink, and it's normally done within 20 minutes. Another good thing with a net as well, all the waste and all the particles that are floating around are near to the hose, gets caught inside the net, so halfway through the process I might move the net slightly, left or right, and then it catches more and more waste in it. You're probably thinking, well, it would do that anyway. Yes, but also if you don't have anything covering the end, it could also suck up fish, like I mentioned earlier. So what I'm going to do now, I've already checked that all my equipment's turned off, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Just double check everything. So this is going to the tank, and I'm going to siphon around about 50%. I do 50% every single week. I've just done it since I've started keeping African cichlids. Other people will do it maybe 25% here and there, 30% once a week, 40%, maybe even more than 50%. This is just the way I do it, and I've had no problems doing it. My fish are always healthy. Now the reason why we do water changes is because we're replacing the nutrients, the minerals in the water, and also removing waste and harmful water parameters that could damage or harm the fish in the long run. That's why it's so important, because African cichlids, we're told, and a lot of people say, let's keep them in high numbers to keep aggression down. That's right. So in a way we have to compensate that by doing regular water changes, big water changes, because the more fish you have, the more waste. It just speaks for themselves. The more fish as well, you need to feed them more, and obviously again that's going to produce more waste. So that's the main reason why we do water changes. So that's what I'm going to do now, get this in, and as you can see here, the big rock on the right, I have a little marker just on the rock. There's nothing drawn on the rock obviously, but I know once I get to that mark on the rock, that's enough. Now before I do that, I do use chemicals. But I think if I show you guys exactly how I do it in this video, it could lead to other problems. Now, what I'm talking about is the beginner to the hobby that knows nothing about adding salts, trace elements. If I show you how to do it, and if your parameters are fine and you don't need to add them, it could lead to someone actually doing it, and then me basically getting the blame because now your fish are all dying and stuff like that. So I do use chemicals. I use Cichlids chemicals, I use the pH buffer, and I also use the trace elements, and I also use a dechlorinator. The dechlorinator I use is Tetrapond safe. It treats up to about 10,000 litres of water. You won't see me doing this through the process. I do it, I have talked about it in other videos. What I might do further down the line, I might actually make a video specifically on using these chemicals. But like I mentioned, I don't want to show you guys how I do it in the tank, because a lot of people have different ways of doing this process. It's a pretty controversial and touchy topic. I just want to let you know that I do use chemicals to help promote the health of my fish, because my pH from my tap isn't ideal for what I need, and I need to buffer it up a little bit more. So don't hold it against me that I'm not showing you guys exactly how I do it. I've just explained why I'm doing it. I hope you understand. Right, so let's get on the water change. So as you can see, there is the hose with the net in the tank, and the hose just runs straight down, and I've siphoned it and it's going down the drain. And I just filled the sink bucket up with water, and that just helps weigh down the hose, and it's pretty straightforward. No messing, no use of a pump, anything like that. Just a nice big hose which will drain 50% of the water down in around about 20 minutes. So we're going to let this drain off, and we'll start talking about filling it back up when it's all finished. Right then, so I've dropped it down as much as I want, and you're probably thinking, now why have I got some bubble wrap in there? If you guys seen the video of me setting up this tank, I used bubble wrap when I was filling up the tank. The purpose for it is the water gets trapped inside the bubble wrap and disperses around the side, instead of being blown straight into the substrate and then just messing up the tank. Obviously there is other ways to do it. You can use a big pan, but I find this the best method, because when the tank is filling up, the bubble wrap rises with the top level of the water, and then you just remove the bubble wrap when it's finished. So it's just there to prevent the tank from getting cloudy from the water hitting the substrate. So this is the way I do it. Let me just fix the light. So here on my tap, I'm quite lucky, I have cold and hot. So at the moment I'm running cold, and then when it gets to the last bit of the tank, filling up the tank, I'm going to add some more hot water.
The reason why I add hot and cold is because with a huge tank, when you're changing 50% of the water, if you're just going to replace it with cold water, the temperature is going to drop too low. So that's one thing you've got to be careful. I know you guys probably know that anyway. But you can drop the temperature by a few degrees, and that will probably encourage some breeding, like I mentioned in a previous breeding video, like tips, how to and stuff. But what I do, I just try and match the temperature as close as possible. It just helps on the electricity bill as well.
Okay, so the tank's been filled now for about 2 hours. I just left it for a couple of hours, went away, had something to eat, and then came back. During the process of me filling the tank, I added the percentage of my pre-mixed pH buffer and the trace elements. The reasons why I don't add it all in one go is because I like to gradually build it back up to what it was before I've done the water change. You know, there's nothing worse than shocking your fish, adding all this pH and all this salts and everything back into the tank after it being taken out. I just do it gradually, build it up, and so it's maintained and steady. Also, what I do now for the next couple of days, I'll do a water test in the morning, a water test at night. Again, checking the pH levels, the GH, the KH, and also making sure the temperature is nice and steady as well after I brought it back up after a water change. As you can see, there's plenty of bubbles in the tank. That's normally occurs straight after I do a water change. Don't know what happens, loads of them start coming out of all the rocks, and it just irritates the crap out of the fish. Also, after doing a water change as well, when you're trying to replace minerals, the pH level and everything like that, the fish start to flash, and that's because of the change in the water parameters. That only sort of last for a couple of hours, probably 3 to 4 hours max. But if they're doing it constantly and they're shredding their skin off, check your water parameters more regularly, and you're going to have to treat the tank, and then that's probably definitely a sign of some type of illness within the fish. But luckily mine are okay. It's not ick or anything like that, it's just because of the water change and everything. So that's pretty much how I do my water change. I apologise that I didn't show you exactly how I mix all the chemicals and everything like that, but I explained previously in the middle of the video why I wasn't going to show that, so please understand that again. And if you want me to talk about something else in next week's video, leave a comment of a topic. What I would like to do is talk about it within the video. It's probably a lot easier if I can talk about it whilst I'm filming the tank, so I'll probably leave these type of videos to do outside of Tank Update Thursdays, because it's more of a how-to type of video, and that's why it's longer than normally, so I do apologise for the length of the video. Anyway guys, like I said, leave a comment if you want me to speak about another topic in next week's video. As always, I appreciate you watching. Thanks for supporting my videos, and until next time, I'll speak to you soon.